that you may have that maybe either personal in nature, maybe related to the topics that are being talked about, or maybe related to, let's say, critical reasoning or reading comprehension or even quant. In addition to Payal, we have Krishna on as a co-host as well today, and Krishna happens to have a 760 on the GMAT as well. So although he's not an SME in the e-GMAT team anymore, but even folks who are in marketing have 99 percentile at e-GMAT. So with that, let's move forward and let's talk a bit about e-GMAT, the company, and we'll go on from there. So as a company, e-GMAT was started in September of 2011, and our sole goal was to help non-natives ace the GMAT. And since then, we've had over 5,700 customers and counting. We had about 100 customers or 100 students, as we call them, every week or so. And our claim to fame is, for those of you who are from GMAT Club, we have more reviews from non-natives. And in our definition, a non-native is someone who hasn't done his or her schooling in USA, UK, Canada, New Zealand, or Australia. So if you didn't do your 6th grade to 12th grade in these countries, you are one of our course is designed for you. So we have more reviews from non-natives than any other test prep company has on GMAT Club. And since GMAT Club is the world's largest community of GMAT aspirants, I'd probably say we are probably the most successful company for non-natives. For those of you who've taken our courses, one of the things that you realize, and which is, I think, the key ingredients that lead to success of our students, is that when you study and take an e-GMAT course, each and everything that you learn is fantastically audiovisual. In turn, it engages your auditory cortex, your visual cortex, and your ability to read. So overall, when you learn through e-GMAT, you engage a greater part of your learning potential, which leads to better learning, higher retention, and I think as a course, it's beautifully suited for working professionals, and that's one of the reasons why our students are very successful. Another reason is, and as Payal will delve more into it towards the end of her part, we have the entire course divided into levels, ensures that you start at the right point and that you continuously learn. So particularly Payal to talk about that towards the end. What makes all of this possible are the people behind e-GMAT. One of the things, if you kind of study the setup of e-GMAT, you'll find that as a company, we're very, very differently set up than most of the other test prep companies. In most of the other test prep companies, they actually have a few core authors and 80% of their who create all the content, and 80% of their staff is part-time, who actually merely absorb the content and teach you. At e-GMAT, as an architecture, everyone who works at e-GMAT works full-time. And these are all people who are very passionate about education, passionate about your success, and merely 99 percentile is not enough for us. We actually reject 1 in 4. We accept 1 in 4 applications, students who actually have 99 percentile on either the GMAT or the CAT. In terms of more non-native success stories, here are some stats. You can clearly see, we account for more than half of all the success stories. In addition to that, if you look at the share GMAT experience section, one of the things that you would rarely see is that e-GMAT students have accounted for more debriefs than students of any other test prep company. And here are some numbers. These numbers are actually about a few months old. And so a lot of people really say that others have success stories too. So how do I know yours are true? So to validate that, one of the things that we've done is with every student, or with actually 80% of our students who provided the reviews on our website, we put in their LinkedIn profile, so you can check them out. So just go to e-GMAT, go to our testimonial section, and for the majority of the students, you'll be able to see who the person behind the review is. As a brief overview of our faculty, this is actually a very partial faculty list so far, and as I said, we've actually added about 5 more folks to this entire list. One of the things that you would rarely see is that that almost everyone over here is a topper in his or her fields. For example, when you look at Chiranjeev, he has a 99.98 percentile on CAT and has a 770 on GMAT. Krishna, at the same time, he has a 99.90 on CAT, which is an Indian equivalent of the GMAT, and he also has a 760 on the GMAT. Payal, who's going to be your host today, is a top ranker on GMAT. She's not just a 99 percentile in CBSE, but the absolute top ranker in CBSE, which is the Indian schooling system. She's also from BITS Pilani, which is a top-rated school in India. So again, everyone over here who's is here because they love teaching, they love to learn, and they love when they help you guys succeed. A few more things about e-GMAT faculty, and for those of you who probably don't know, GMAT Club actually held a best presenter competition a couple of years ago, about 15 months ago or so, where they invited folks from Manhattan GMAT, Veritas Prep, GMAT, pretty much all their partners to present. Shraddha from e-GMAT won that competition, and you can actually see the number of high ratings we got versus the number of high ratings that others got. With that, I think I'm coming towards the end of my presentation. So we kind of fundamentally offer two kinds of courses. The first course that we offer is called Verbal Online. And when you think about Verbal Online is a course that that if you are someone who wants to study at your own pace or looking to study from books, Verbal Online provides you a great alternative, something that's 4 to 5 times as effective, 3 to 4 times as comprehensive. It includes us intense correction, critical reasoning, reading comprehension, and integrated reasoning courses. Gives you 5 mock tests, access to GMAT Club tests for those of you who are GMAT Club members, and lots of other goodies. And you know, it's a very well supported course. In fact, Verbal Online is the world's most reviewed online course anywhere. Verbal Live Prep is the world's most comprehensive classroom course. So it includes everything that Verbal Online includes, and on top of it, it adds another 32 hours of live session. And a live session is a session such as this one that we are doing over here. Verbal Live Prep also offers a very, very interesting offering. So let me ask one of the things over here. Actually, let me get a poll question. I'm sorry. How many of you over here are retakers? How many of you over here are retakers? Select yes if you're a retaker, select no otherwise. For retakers, Verbal Live Prep offers a verbal score improvement guarantee. And the guarantee simply works if you have an official score out of 60. Let's say you have a 32 out of 60. We guarantee that your score will improve from 32 to 36. Otherwise, we give you your money back. If you have a 36 out of 50, we guarantee that your score will improve to 40. Otherwise, you get your money back. So for retakers, Verbal Live Prep offers fantastic guarantee. This is the first session of the April batch. This is where we are right now, and usually Verbal Live Prep takes about 45 to 50 days to complete. So the April batch ends around June of 8th, and so for those of you who are looking to take the exam in around the 20th of June or so, Verbal Live Prep is the perfect course. Again, with Verbal Live Prep, you get access to all the recordings right away. So we have, for those of you who's studying full time, in less than 30 days by taking the recordings. Okay, here is a comparison of what Verbal Live Prep offers with regards to what others offer. And one of the things that you really see is in pretty much every aspect, Verbal Live Prep is more comprehensive than any other course. And whether it comes to the guarantee that we offer, number of live session hours, or the price. Here is so with that, I've come to the end of this seminar. I have a couple of questions over here. Someone asked, can you pay in Indian rupees? Yes, if you don't have a credit card, we do accept payments in Indian rupees. Just write to us at support@e-GMAT.com, and someone will help you over there. With that, I am done with my part of the session. As I said, take about 12 minutes or so. And Payal, over to you.
All right, welcome everyone. My name is Payal Tandon, and I will be your host for the rest of the session. Thank you, Rajat, for that wonderful introduction. So first, let's just do some process check here. Can you all hear me okay? Click on yes if you can. Click on no if you cannot. All right. And during the session, if at all you have any problems with listening to the audio, please feel free to let us know. If there is a problem at our end, we will definitely fix it. Otherwise, usually the problem gets fixed if you log back in, because it's typically the connection at your end. So again, we can routinely take this check and then figure out where the problem lies. Okay, so let's get started with our session here, and with the SC part of the session, I mean. And before I begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just ask you about what your approach towards SC is. Okay, and my goal here is that I want to take that response from you right now before I begin my session, and then towards the end of the session after I finish the session. Why? Because that's going to be the testament of how successful I was in convincing you regarding your approach. Okay, so all right, so take a few seconds and then put in your responses here. Essentially, what term comes to your mind when you think about sentence correction? I'll give you 20 more seconds. Okay, well and good. Thank you so much for that overwhelming response here. I'm going to broadcast the results over here. Okay, so let's simply scroll down the list and kind of see how many meaning words do I see and how many words related to grammar do I see. So logical meaning, grammar, spotting errors, good English presentation in words, grammatical mistakes, concentration. That's one of the first ones that I have heard. Challenging and tricking, very well. Rules of grammar, grammar, splits, meaning, very nice. Uh, there's one person who's thinking what it basically what term it triggers. Grammar, structure, meaning. So again, just scroll down the list and get an idea for yourself as to how many grammar parts do you see, and splits and accuracy and all that stuff. So we'll bring this poll back again towards the end of the session, and then you'll be able to compare pre and post the session. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, and I would really appreciate all of you to continue such great interactivity with me, because that's how you will get the maximum out of the session. You've already taken out the time to attend this session, so definitely take the time to put in your poll responses. All right. So what are we going to do next? I have about 4 questions that I'm going to cover in this session in detail. And what I'm going to do is give you a chance to attempt all those 4 questions one by one right in the beginning. And then I'll go through the detailed solution of each question individually. And before I take up each question individually, after I teach you the process that you should be following, I'll give you guys another attempt at each of the questions. Okay. So here's what is going to happen. I'm going to give you a chance to attempt each of these 4 questions individually, and I'm not going to time you really. So what I'm going to see is, as soon as 70% of the class is done putting in their responses, I'm going to give you a 20-second warning. So that way, you're not competing against a timer, but you're competing with your fellow GMATers. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Here's your first question, and your time starts now. I'll give you a 20-second warning before I end the poll. So as soon as you guys have done your have narrowed into your answer, please mark the answer. Okay. All right, last 15 seconds. Put in your responses. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now. All right, let's come to our next question. All right, last 15 seconds. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. And here comes your third question. Last 15 seconds. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, let's move on to the last question of this session. Last 15 seconds. All right. Okay, very good. Let's go back to our presentation here. Can everyone see the presentation? Just want to make sure that the screen has refreshed at everyone's end. Okay, so how was the experience? The 4-question marathon. Type in over here. Three out of 4 were easy, challenging, tired. It's a really good one. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, here are your responses. Okay, so I would there were no surprises for me in terms of your performance. And again, I will be discussing each one of these questions in detail. So again, let's get started with question number 1. Now, question number 1 by far was the easiest of all the questions. And there is a reason why we actually put this easy question up front, just so you know, you get your feet wet with an easy question, and then we move you on to the more difficult questions. So so let me bring out the poll for this one, so that you can see how you guys performed here. Question number 1. Okay, so here is, so let me broadcast the results here. So choice C is the correct answer, and 77% of the class marked the correct answer, which is really good. And in terms of, you guys changing your answer towards the last minute, I didn't see that happening, which means that as you marked choice C, you were really confident about your response, which is really good. Usually when I see, people changing from one choice to another towards the end, when I give you a 15-second warning, that just tells me that you're not confident about what you marked up front, which basically tells me that you really didn't approach the question in the appropriate manner. So in this case, I didn't see that happening. Now, given that I wasn't timing you guys really, I was just recording the amount of time that the entire class was taking. I would say that question number 1, 2, and 4 were solved within 3 minutes. Question number 3 was the only one for which you guys took just about 2 minutes. So again, my purpose here is not to time you and bring your accuracy down. I don't want to do that because you guys are starting off preparing for SC. Timing comes later on after the approach. So we'll talk about the timing aspect later on in our session. So let's first talk about this question. Now, what I want to do is I want to understand from you, because majority of you marked the correct answer. And again, the question that I'm going to ask next is really for people who did not select a particular choice as the correct answer. So here's what my question is. For each of the choices, I want to know why did you reject a particular choice. So let's come to choice number B and tell me why did you reject that choice. Choice B, why did you reject choice B? You can see the choice up on the screen. So tell me, why did you reject choice B? And again, tell me the primary error that you saw in choice B. That's the most important thing which I want to know. That's why it's not a multiple response question. Because again, remember, answering a question correctly is half the battle. But answering it for the right reasons is a lot more important, because that's what determines your confidence in the test. That's what determines repeatability of your performance when you are faced with such questions in the test environment. Okay, that's why it's very important to do a very thorough review, even for questions that you got right. Okay, and whenever you see that you're not answering the questions for the right reasons, that means it's a cause of not a cause of worry, but just something that you need to pay attention to. Okay, all right. So you told me about choice B, and here's what majority of you are saying. Structure and meaning error, those are the two leading reasons of rejecting choice B. Some of you are saying that there is subject verb error. Some of you are saying, again, subject verb, pronoun, modifier, verb, parallelism. There is almost an equal split there. Okay, so choice B. So again, before I go into my analysis, I want to know why you rejected these choices. So choice B, meaning and structure, about 23% and 29%. Okay, those are the leading ones. Let's talk about choice C. Actually, let's leave choice C. Tell me about choice D. Why did you reject choice D? Oh, sorry about that. Choice D. Why did you reject choice D? All right, choice D. Let's broadcast the results. Oh, the results are already broadcasted. Sorry about that. Okay, so choice D, majority is saying it's modifier issue. All right, 57% of you are saying that. I'm going to end the poll here. And then I see for structure, there is 21%. Actually, I would need to understand what is it that you guys mean by structure. So tell me, for choice D, what is it that you mean by structure? When you say that it's a structure error, what do you mean? Type in over here and answer presenter's question up on the top. Okay, all right. So I'm going to retain this so that when we talk about, all right. Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's come now to choice E. Why is choice E wrong? Guys, back to the multiple choice poll. Why is choice E wrong? I think when I broadcast the results, you guys get influenced by what other people have responded to. So my bad. Oh, sorry. Here you go. Now I think you guys can see choice E clearly. Okay, so let's end the poll here. Thank you very much for your responses. Let me broadcast the results. So, and I'm going to, okay. So choice E, good. 46.7% are saying meaning. And then verb is the next one, 31%. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. So now let me get into my analysis piece. I've taken enough information from you guys. Let's get into the analysis of this. So again, okay. All right, so whenever I solve an SC question, here's what I do. First of all, I read the sentence carefully and I understand the meaning that the sentence communicates. At this point in time, I'm not worried about what are the errors in the sentence. I'm not looking for errors. All I'm doing is I'm looking to understand what is it that the author intended to his sentence. After all, he's written this entire sentence with the intent to communicate a certain meaning to me. So I want to do my due diligence to understand that meaning. Okay. So as I start to read, I basically break the sentence down into its smaller chunks in my mind as I'm reading it. Okay. So scientists who publish studies in American Ceramic Society Bulletin. So what I get to know is that these are certain kinds of scientists who publish studies in a certain bulletin. Have found, so these scientists have found something. What have they found? That's what we see in the part that follows after have found. Have found that Pyrex glassware. So they found something about Pyrex glassware. Then I see a comma here. Once marketed as from icebox to oven cookware, that did not expand or compress when exposed to high heat or low temperatures. So I just pause here because I just read a pretty long chunk of words and I want to assimilate the meaning of that so that I don't really get lost in all these words. Okay, so before I read further, before I go beyond this point, I basically just do a pause here and I assimilate what is it that I've just read. So far I know that the scientists have found something about Pyrex glassware. Now, Pyrex glassware once marketed as from icebox to oven cookware. So it's just telling me, I mean, this part is just telling me some information about the fact that Pyrex glassware was once marketed as from icebox to oven cookware. That did not expand or compress. So, okay, so this cookware did not expand or compress when exposed to high heat or low temperatures. Okay, so this is telling me that it used to be marketed as a heat resistant cookware, if you will. Okay. And then I read further. No longer standing up well to some of the temperature changes involved in cooking. Okay. So what this part is saying is that, okay, probably the Pyrex glassware no longer stands up well to some of the temperature changes involved in cooking. Okay. So essentially this part is telling me something which is contrary to what the Pyrex glassware was marketed as in the past. Because in the past it was marketed as from icebox to oven cookware. And no longer standing up well to some of the temperature changes involved in cooking, this part is telling me that it no longer stands up well to the temperature changes. So probably it's no longer heat resistant. Okay. So in the entire sentence, what is it that I've learned? That certain scientists have found something about Pyrex glassware. And then again, this part is just giving me an FYI kind of information for your information that it was once marketed as a heat resistant material. And then, what have these scientists found? These scientists have found that Pyrex glassware no longer stands up well to some of the temperature changes. That's what the scientists have found out. Okay. Now, one thing that this sentence is basically telling me is the way, now I've been able to understand the meaning of this sentence, right? And I want to know how many of you were able to understand the meaning to this level. That's good. So majority of you, so a lot of you were able to, majority was able to understand the meaning to this level. Very nice. But again, one thing that you'll notice here is that there is no verb for Pyrex glassware, right? No longer standing actually is not grammatically correct here, right? Because as such, this should be Pyrex glassware can no longer stand, right? So again, even when the sentence is not written appropriately, correctly, you need to infer the correct meaning. So you need to make out from the context of the sentence as to what the sentence could be trying to tell you. Okay. So again, there is a verb that's missing, which is why the sentence is incorrect, but you should always try to infer the correct meaning. So you should see, okay, no longer standing up well to temperature changes. Can this part in any way, the way it is written, it's written in a verb ing form, right? But then can this part in any way modify the previous part here? It cannot, right? Because again, there is no bearing of the Pyrex glassware being heat resistant and not being able to stand up well to the temperature changes. These two facts are indeed contradictory, right? So that's why that's how you can infer that, okay, there is this meaning which really you have to infer. Okay, does this point make sense? How is it that you infer what the correct meaning is, what the role of each and every entity is? Okay, good, I'm glad. So again, you're not just reading the words, right? You are assimilating the meaning. That's when, when you get into that mode of assimilating the meaning, that's when SC becomes really logical. Okay, but if you're just looking at these words as standalone entities with the sole purpose of figuring out what the grammatical errors is, that's when SC becomes really, really a very, invincible type of a question. Okay. All right. Now, as I come to, now in my next step, I try to figure out the errors. Now, in this case, I've already figured out that there is one error which pertains to the absence of the verb. Okay, but then I don't stop at that. It's not like I have figured out what the first possible error was and then I go and start looking at the answer choices. No, I do not do that. What I do is I go down the list of the known types of errors that can be present in the sentence and I make sure that I check all those before I move on to the answer choices. And this is a very important step in order to avoid the back and forth that you would end up doing if you move on to the answer choices rather quickly. Okay. So, I basically look at I've already looked at the entire sentence regardless of the underlined portion. Okay. I didn't even focus on what the underlined portion was till now. Okay. But at this point in time, as I was looking at the entire sentence, I've already figured out what my subject verb pairs are, right? Right? So I've already figured out what all the subject verb pairs are. Now I'm focusing my attention to the underlined portion. Okay, and then I'm seeing, okay, whatever is there in the underlined portion, let me just take a look at it. Okay, so that Pyrex glassware, I already know that there is no verb. Okay, so let me look at the verbs here. All the verbs that are there in the underlined portion, they all are written correctly, right? Did not expand or compress. This is written in past tense, which makes perfect sense here because we are talking about what the Pyrex glassware was once marketed as, right? And then in terms of modifiers, you have when exposed to high heat. That's a modifier that's telling me, describing a little bit more about did not expand or compress. Absolutely fine, no problems there. Once marketed as, this is a verb ed modifier that's modifying Pyrex glassware. Absolutely fine, no problems with that. Parallelism, again, there is just one list here, did not expand or compress, which is fine. So there is no other issues in the sentence. Now I can move on to the answer choices. Now, when I come to choice B, let me go back. What majority of you said was that there is a structural issue with choice B. Now, I want to know what is that structural issue, and for that, I think I'll have to get another poll because I don't want to get rid of this one here regarding structure for choice E. So, um, okay, wait 1 minute. All right. So tell me, what is the structural issue with choice B? All right. Now, the reason why I'm asking that what is a structural issue, because 23% of you initially said that there is a structural issue. All right. So let me broadcast the result, and I'm going to end the poll. Use of that it no longer stands. Logical flow is not there. Two independent clauses. Okay. Run-on sentence that changes the meaning. Okay. Multiple phrases joined by conjunction. The fact is that there is no structural issue in choice B. Okay, there is one issue with choice B, and that is related to the meaning. Okay, and what I want to understand is why, when you said that there is meaning issue, why do you think there is a meaning issue? Tell me now. Why do you think there is a meaning issue with choice B? Okay, I see some correct answers here. Okay, now I've seen a lot of people talking about contrast. Where is the contrast here? When we understood the meaning of this sentence, there is a contrast, yes, in the fact that Pyrex glassware was once marketed and now was once marketed as a heat resistant, and now there is no longer, and now it appears that it is no longer heat resistant. However, you don't really need to have any contrast word to express that contrast, right? So here when I see that, okay, that it changes the meaning, changes the topic of discussion. So again, I think you guys are telling the right thing, but you're not using it, you're not expressing it in a very nice manner, okay? What this choice is saying is that the scientists have found that Pyrex glassware was once marketed as from icebox to oven cookware that did not expand, blah, 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 and that it no longer stands up well to some of the temperature changes. If you look at the two facts that are presented here, there is still the same contrast. There is still that same contradiction, because the first fact that is present here is saying that it was once marketed as a heat resistant, and now it no longer stands up well to the heat. So the contradicting facts are still there. So when you say that the contrast is not clear, that's not right, because the contradicting facts are still there. But the reason why choice B is wrong, or it changes the meaning, I think someone said that over here, more of a, where is that? We end the poll so that, yeah, so someone did say here that scientists did not find two things. Scientists only found one thing, okay? And that's what is the issue with this sentence. What this choice is saying is that the scientists found two things: that it was once marketed as something, and that it no longer withstands temperatures. However, per what we understood the original sentence meaning was that per the scientists only found about the second part, which is over here. And that's why this choice is wrong. Okay. So everyone who said that, there is a structural issue, again, even if you are saying that it no longer stands up well, or so over here was once marketed, there is no structural issue per se. Okay, because again, grammatically and structurally this sentence is absolutely fine. There is nothing wrong with it. Why the sentence is wrong is because of the meaning that it communicates, and the fact that the meaning that it communicates is different from what the choice A indicates. Okay, does that make sense? Can you guys see the difference in the clarity that you need to have whenever you are, analyzing the answer choices? So even though you guys marked this question as a correct question, right? I mean, majority was able to answer this question correctly. You did not reject answer choice B for the right reasons. And again, the same thing applies for the other choices as well. Okay. All right. Now, I've seen a lot of comments in the Q&A pod about, wouldn't this process take too much time? Please hold on to those questions. I will be addressing the timing aspect of this process once we are through majority of the session. Okay. So please don't worry about the timing aspect right now. Believe me, this process has worked wonders. And if you follow it diligently, it will work wonders for you as well. Okay. All right, so changes the meaning of the sentence. Now let's move on to choice C. Choice C is definitely the correct answer. Okay, so here the error which existed in choice A has been corrected, because here you have no longer stands up well, and there is no other error that has been introduced. Okay, so choice C is absolutely correct. Okay, and again, once you do a thorough analysis of the original sentence, when you see the correct answer, because you know what to expect in the correct answer, it basically makes the correct answer absolutely obvious in your mind. Okay, and that's the power of the process. Okay, now choice D. Choice D, majority of you said that there is a modifier error. So let me find out why. When you said that there is a modifier error, what is the modifier error? About 57% of the class said that there is modifier error. Now, don't tell me that there is a tense error. I know that it's already marked there. But when you said that there is a modifier error, what is the modifier error? Okay, now I see. ED modifier should come after noun. All right, now I understand why you felt that there is modifier error. Believe me, there is no modifier error here. Let me tell you the sentence structure, and this is very interesting. So if you rejected this choice for the modifier error and not for the verb tense error, then again, I will not give you credit for answering this question correctly. Okay, so let's look at choice D. Okay. Give me a minute here, not a minute, that and involved in cooking. So this is choice D here, right? And I'm going to increase the font here so that it's more legible. All right. Scientists who publish studies in the American Ceramic Society have found that, okay, once marketed as from icebox to oven cookware that had not expanded or compressed when exposed to the high heat or low temperatures, Pyrex glassware. So this entire thing here, which you are thinking that is not correct because of the placement of once marketed, is absolutely right, because this is just an opening modifier for Pyrex glassware. Pyrex glassware is still what follows that. So scientists who publish studies in this society have found that now this is just an additional information for Pyrex glassware, which is encapsulated in the comma pair here. So if you felt that this comma pair is basically incorrect, there is nothing wrong with that. It's just it is just used to encapsulate the information which is presented in this modifier. Okay. So have found that blah 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 Pyrex glassware no longer stands up well to some of the temperature changes involved in cooking. So once marketed is modifying Pyrex glassware. There is no issue with that. Can you guys see that? Do you guys see why there is no issue with the modifier here? Someone is asking, isn't the modifier too far from its subject? No, it's not. I mean, it's a pretty long modifier. Okay. So again, if I wanted to simplify the structure of this sentence, all I could have said was once marketed as heat resistant. Okay. So let's just change that. So if I just wanted to shorten this out, I would have just said once marketed as heat resistant cookware. Pyrex glassware no longer stands up well to some of the stuff, right? Now, in that case, again, there is no problem with that. And had you seen this as the sentence, you wouldn't have even worried about once marketed, because you would have seen, oh, okay, once marketed it's simply encapsulated in this comma pair. It's a very small modifier that's modifying Pyrex glassware, right? But again, that's where the beauty of understanding the sentence structure, right? I mean, you have over here two clauses in the same modifier, right? You have over here two clauses in the same modifier. So again, you have to understand what is the utility of these two modifiers. Each of these modifiers is explaining something. That had not expanded is modifying cookware. When exposed to high heat is modifying the verbs prior to it, had not expanded or compressed. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, now some of you are, there's one person who's asking, is comma after that allowed? Again, that takes me to another discussion. And Krishna, can you pull up that article on that structure so that we have an article regarding comma after that? So if you can please pull up that article, I would really appreciate that. So again, guys, comma after that is not allowed if you have Pyrex glassware. So say if you had, and I'm deviating from my discussion here. So have found that Pyrex glassware no longer stands up. This part is wrong. You can't have a comma separating whatever follows that. Okay. However, in this case, the comma pair is for this modifier. It's not for what follows after that. And that is absolutely allowed, and it is there in official sentences as well. So once Krishna gets you that article, you will be able to appreciate the importance of this. So again, this again exemplifies the importance of understanding the sentence structure. Okay, what is modifying, what is the role played by each and every entity? That's what is critical. Thank you, Krishna. So I'm going to send, actually it's not this one, Krishna. So again, I'll have to look for that and add over to you guys. But again, that article over here is also nice. But I'll look for that article. I think we haven't published it as I thought. All right. So everyone clear about choice D? Why choice D is not correct? Okay. All right. So let's move on to, so choice D is not correct because of the past perfect tense that has been used here. That was the real reason for rejecting choice D. Okay. Because cookware that had not expanded, there is no reason for us to use past perfect tense here. Okay. Because past perfect tense, because there is no other verb tense in past tense for which sequences, which should be used to sequence this particular thing. Okay. So that's why choice D is wrong. So there is no other error with choice D. Choice E, let's look at that. Choice E is wrong because of the meaning issue. And 46% of the class said that there is a meaning issue, but there's 30% of the class that said that there is a tense issue. I'm not sure where the tense issue is. So let me ask you, where is the tense issue in choice E? Type in over here, where is the tense issue in choice E? In the for your information section. Okay, let's take a look at that. That although Pyrex glassware no longer stands up well to it is marketed, that does not expand. Okay, now again, there is no tense issue here, guys, because again, look at the entire sentence. The way the sentence is constructed, the construction requires the use of does not expand. Because now it is not saying that it was once marketed. What this is saying is it is marketed as from icebox to oven. That does not expand or compress. So it's stating that as a fact. Okay. So again, when you say that it is a verb tense issue, it's not a verb tense issue. It's a meaning issue because grammatically the sentence is absolutely fine. It's distorting the meaning of the sentence, and that's why this choice is wrong. Because now it seems that the scientists have found a contradiction. The scientists never found a contradiction. What the scientists found was that, okay, no, now Pyrex glassware is not heat resistant. So you can say, so you can still say that they found the contradiction, but what he's saying, what this choice is saying is that Pyrex can no longer withstand temperatures, but it is still marketed as from icebox to oven. Okay, so despite the fact that it can no longer withstand temperature differences, it is still marketed as from icebox to oven. That is the meaning change which is happening here. Okay, there is no verb tense error here, because if you look at, when you say verb tense error, it means that in order to, it means that the sentence is not using verb tenses in the right manner, right? But in this case, if you just look at this sentence as a standalone sentence, it looks absolutely fine. Okay, so again, it's very important to understand why each answer choice is wrong. Now, if you thought that, you know, it's a verb tense error, but it's related to meaning, then I would give you credit for that. Okay, but as such, there is meaning error in this sentence. Okay, so what is it that you take away from this question? You guys answered the question correctly, right? 78% of the class answered this question correctly. However, you know, as we discussed the stuff, right, there were a lot of gaps in your understanding, right? So what is it that you take away from this sentence? Seemingly easy sentence, right? So take some time to assimilate that. Okay, let's look at some of the responses. Need to know why some answers are wrong. Meaning lets you judge the answer choices. Reject for right reasons. Good, good. I'm really happy to see this. And again, that's where I chose this question. Even though you answered it correctly, I still spent about 15-20 minutes discussing it, because I want you to understand the importance of reviewing a question, importance of applying the right process. Okay, that is very, very, very important. Okay, and as soon as you get that aspect of the structure of the process that should be followed, of the importance of knowing why each answer choice is right, SC will become a cakewalk for you. Okay, so thank you very much for your responses here. All right, so let me take up a few questions here. Roshni is asking, the meaning should be same as given in the question. Absolutely right. When you understand the meaning of, when you read the original sentence, you have to understand what is it that the original sentence is trying to communicate. And that's what you have to retain in the correct answer. Now, if the original sentence does not communicate a logical meaning, then you need to infer what the logical meaning will be. Okay, and that's the meaning that you should communicate. Okay, all right. Now let's look at why do people falter in SC, right? First of all, they don't spend enough time on the complete sentence. And that's what some of you said over here, that, I didn't pay complete attention to the original sentence, attempted without actually understanding it well, right? And they don't know what's wrong with the sentence. And they basically, because they are rushing through time, because they have, okay, how many people actually feel that they have to solve sentence correction questions within a minute or a minute, 15 seconds? How many people actually feel that way? And I just got a question, how to handle all this in 2 minutes. And again, guys, hold on to the timing question, okay? So 80% of you feel that you should be attempting SC questions within a minute or minute 15 seconds. And that is an absolutely, absolutely wrong metric to follow. And I would really urge you guys to look at the strategy session 2, in which we basically debunk this particular aspect. Okay, there is a specific amount of time that you should have, that you should follow in order to solve SC questions, CR questions, and RC questions. For SC, that time is anywhere from a minute and a half, a minute to a minute and a half, or even 1 minute 45 seconds. It really depends upon person to person. So if you say that, okay, everyone should be able to solve questions within a minute, that's absolutely a wrong metric to follow, because you are setting yourself up for failure by setting that as a target. Okay. Now, yes, people do solve questions within a minute, but again, that doesn't mean that a person who takes 1 minute 30 seconds is going to fail. Not at all. Okay. It's something that you have to understand as to what your strength is, as to what your capacity is, and you need to work towards that. And for that reason, I'm suggesting that definitely look at the either attend the session whenever it happens, or view the recording of this strategy session 2. Okay. So Krishna, if you can please pull up the recording link for strategy session 2, I'd really appreciate that. All right. Now, what happens is that when people don't spend enough time on the original sentence, they jump directly to the answer choices to figure out the splits and the pattern recognition stuff, right? And then again, they engage in that significant back and forth between the answer choices and between the original sentence. And that back and forth leads to a lot of anxiety, and that leads to mistakes that actually could be avoided had they followed a very structured process. Okay. So again, that's where you have to understand understand why is it that people fail in SC. How many people can associate with what I just said? Jumping over to answer choices, engaging in back and forth. How many people? Okay, so majority of you can. In fact, almost entire class can associate with that. And again, this leads to anxiety, right? But you can avoid all of that if you do the due diligence with choice A. Choice A is the choice on which you should spend about 60 to 65% of your time. Believe me. But as such, in reality, choice A is the choice on which people spend the least amount of time, probably 20 to 25 minutes, 20 to 25% of the time. And that's the leading cause of failure for SC. Okay, failure in SC, sorry. Now, what's the optimum approach for SC? Understand the meaning. You are given the original. You need to understand what is the whole purpose behind a sentence correction question. And once you understand that, you'll see how logical this process is, or how intuitive this process is. The main purpose behind a sentence correction question is that given a sentence, can you understand what the author is saying? And if once you understand, can you make sure that the author has presented that sentence in grammatically correct fashion? That's precisely it. But the key thing here is that people forget about the meaning aspect. They don't worry about what the author is trying to say. They jump straight to the grammatical errors in the sentence, because that's how they associate sentence correction. They associate grammar as the key thing with sentence correction. Okay, but really the key thing is meaning. So you understand what is it that the author is saying. You understand the sentence structure. How is it that the author is communicating that meaning? Okay, and then you basically apply your knowledge of grammar, right? Your finite number of grammar rules that you need to know, and then you basically assimilate that information, and you basically check whether the author is actually correct or not. You understood what the author is saying. You understood how the author is communicating. Now you figure out, is the author correct or not? But again, that's where you have a process which is the e-GMAT 3-step process that I've been following and that I've been advocating, which this process assimilates, combines these 3 different aspects which form the 3 pillars of SC. Okay, so this process improves accuracy and it actually saves you time. So people who are talking about this process taking too long, once you master the process, once you understand how to apply the process, it will in fact end up saving time for you. Initially, no. When you're learning the process, you will take up to 3 minutes to solve the question. That's why I didn't want to time you guys today, right? Because you're learning the process. But as you learn and as you master the process, as soon as you've solved 50 to 60 questions by following the process diligently, by reviewing your work, the process will become second nature to you. I can guarantee you that. But you have to give the process its due time. Okay? Now, why understand sentence structure? Now, the sentence that we just saw, it was a pretty long and complicated sentence, right? And again, GMAT sentences are typically this long. I mean, there may be certain sentences which are really short, but typically sentences are pretty long, right? Now, sentences are composed of these different clauses, right? And then you have, once you understand, what is the meaning of each and every, once you understand that, okay, once you break the sentence down into its chunk, the way we did for the first question, you can assimilate the logical connections. You can understand the roles of different entities, okay? You can figure out, okay, what are the lists, and you can figure out the logical connection, as I said earlier, right? So as you do that, you're breaking the sentence down into smaller chunks, and you are assimilating the meaning as you're breaking them down, so that you are not seeing a complete long sentence at a stretch and getting anxious about, oh my God, what did I just read? For example, when we read that thing about, so let me bring up that note here again. When we looked at choice D, right? Once marketed as from icebox cookware that had not expanded when exposed to. As soon as you broke this sentence down at these points, you could assimilate the meaning of what each of these is communicating, right? And as soon as you did that, the sentence became very, very clear to you, right? But if you don't do this breaking points, right? If you don't break the sentence down into its chunks, you will make the mistake that you actually did with choice D, wherein you thought that once marketed modifier is not correct, wherein it was absolutely correct. Its placement was absolutely fine, right? But again, as soon as I simplified the sentence, you guys were able to figure out that there is nothing wrong with it, right? But again, there is no difference between this part and between this long part in terms of the structure of the sentence. You would have realized that had you broken this sentence down into its chunks. And as you are breaking it down, you are understanding the logical connection or the logical role that these things are playing. Does this thing make sense? Do you understand the relevance of sentence structure? And again, you have an example right in front of you. About 57% of you said that there is a modifier error here, right? Which means that you were not able to assimilate the structure and the role that each of these entities was playing in the sentence. That's why you thought that there was a modifier error. Had you understood that, you wouldn't have made that error. Okay, now someone is asking, do you recommend to write the breakdown of sentence during exam? Not during the exam, okay? But when you are practicing, when you're learning the process, I would urge you guys to take the sentence, just copy the sentence in a Word doc or a PPT, whatever. Start bulletizing it. That's what I would suggest. So you basically take a long sentence, and so let me just show you how I would do it when I'm practicing it. Okay, so you take a long sentence. All right, let me just, and you start to bulletize it, okay, in a Word doc. And then as you are seeing these clauses or these modifiers, just start to indent them and make sure that you highlight the subject verb pairs. Now as you do that initially, right, for the first 50 sentences you are doing that, it will become a very obvious second nature to you to break the sentence down in your mind when you get to the exam. Okay, so again, initially I will urge you guys to do the breakdown in a Word doc or something, but as you practice, that's only in the practice mode. In the exam, you don't really have that kind of luxury of time, right? You need to master the process by that time. Okay, so that's when you will be able to, as you practice, you will be able to do everything in mind. It's like mental math, right? Initially, you have to, when you're learning how to do math in your mind, initially you do have to write down each and everything, right? But then as you practice, it gets second nature and the things get imprinted in your mind. And now you don't have to write down, okay, what is 28 plus 53? Again, I'm just taking a very simple example here. You can automatically calculate it in your mind. Okay. So again, initially you will need to do such kind of writing. All right. Okay. So how should the SC question be solved? And again, this is just more of a revision. As I said, 60 to 65% of your time should be spent on the original sentence. That's where you utilize the sentence structure and you figure out what is the meaning of that sentence and what are all the possible errors that are there in the sentence. Okay, all the possible errors. That's the key thing here after understanding the meaning. Don't just find the first error and then jump over to the answer choices, because then as you see the answer choices, you see 4 other versions of that sentence. And that's when you start to get confused that, oh my God, here is the difference. Is that difference really something that's wrong? Because again, a lot of times when you see the difference in the answer choices, you start to consider that, okay, each difference would basically be something wrong. No, not necessarily. There are multiple ways of expressing a certain thought. Okay, and again, answer choices will basically confuse you. But as long as you've done your thorough error analysis, you know all the all the errors that are there in the original choice. Now, when you look at the answer choices, you are looking at them with certain mindset. You know what to look for in the correct answer, and that's when you get to the answer choices and you are able to correctly mark the correct answer choice. Okay, with that confidence. Okay, so another thing that people ask me is, do I need to apply the process to all questions or only to difficult questions? Again, when you are in test environment, you don't know which one is easy, which one is medium, or which one is a hard question. And the process has to be applied to all the questions so that the process becomes a second nature to you. Okay. All right. So with this, we come to our second question. Now, would you want to take another stab at second question? Yes or no? Or do you want me to get into the analysis right away? All right. Majority is still saying that you want to attempt the second question. So I'll just give you probably a minute to look at the second question. Okay, not more than that. And so let me just record what was the performance on this one, because I'll give you the same poll. All right. Let me clean this up. There's a lot of stuff over here. All right. Take a minute to reattempt this question and apply the process, okay? All right, last 10 seconds. Okay. Nothing much is happening at this end. All right, so let me end the poll and let me give you the link to that article. Okay. Okay. I don't think I'm doing the right thing here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you can click at this and then get the article to comment that, as I had said earlier. Okay. All right, and then we also have the link to strategy session 2 recording. So we can get you that as well. And again, towards the end also, if you need any of these recording links, please let me know. All right. Okay, so let's come to question number 2. Now, question number 2, the accuracy was just give me a minute. All right. Question number 2, the correct answer here is, and you would be surprised, it is choice A. So the accuracy not much changed from the first time that you attempted this question to the second time that you attempted it. So the accuracy was 31.4% initially, and now it is 36%. So nothing really changed here. Now, so again, this is a difficult question, but again, someone asked me in the Q&A pod that if the original choice is right, wouldn't the anxiety be lower? And the answer is right in front of you. Even though over here the original choice is correct, the accuracy is so low because I'm pretty sure that the students were not able to, figure out that choice A is wrong. That choice A is correct. Okay, so get choice A. And actually, let me just ask, what do you think is wrong with choice A? And let me get rid of this stuff here. Tell me what was wrong with choice A. 70% of you did not mark this to be correct. So tell me what's wrong with choice A. And look at the responses. And again, thank you for being so frank here. Meaning not clear. It is ambiguous. Nothing just too long, even though usage. Okay, so for those of you who were able to answer this correctly in the second attempt, really good. And I would be curious to know what made you answer this question correctly in the second attempt. So tell me, people who were able to answer this correctly in the second attempt, what made you correctly answer this question in the second attempt? It's only for those people who were able to answer this correctly in the second attempt. Spend more time in meaning, dividing the sentence in chunks. Understood choice A, giving more time to choice A. Very good, very good. Very nice. I'm really happy to see that. Even though the number of people who were able to correctly answer in the second attempt was not that much, but I'm still happy to see that you guys were able to correctly answer this for the right reasons, by applying the process, which is really good. Okay. All right, so let me get into the analysis mode for this one. Even though root cyclone technology, a vortex separation method, used for rotational effects and gravity to separate mixtures of solids and fluids, is synonymous with the company Dyson. Now tell me, what is all this information telling me? What is this part of, and let me highlight that, just give me what is this part of the sentence telling me? Just this part here. Type in over here. Just the shaded. It's an FYI information about the root cyclone technology. Absolutely right. Very nice. It's explaining the root cyclone technology. And what is it saying? What is, okay, and then what is this part saying here? Even though, what is the first part of the contrast next to even though root cyclone technology is synonymous with the company Dyson. That is the first aspect of the contrast here. Even though tells you that there is a contrast, right? What is the first part of the contrast? Even though RCT is synonymous with the root cycle, with the company Dyson. Okay. It is now found in top offerings by almost all leading brands of vacuum cleaners that use the Venturi effect to produce a partial vacuum. Now, what is it here? What is the reference of it? What is it? Root cyclone technology. So where is root cyclone technology? It is found in top offerings by almost all leading brands of vacuum cleaners. Okay. Now, why do you think, now people who are saying that the pronoun is ambiguous, how many people think that it is ambiguous? Yes or no? Oh, sorry. How many people think that the pronoun it is ambiguous? So 60%, 70% of you think it's okay. So let me ask this question. Pronoun it is ambiguous, yes or no? Okay, so 30% of you think that it is ambiguous. Why do you think it's ambiguous? Type in over here. Why do you think it is ambiguous? RCT or method? It could refer to, it could also be company. Okay, guys, you have to think about what makes logical sense. We are starting off the sentence by saying that even though RCT is synonymous with the company Dyson, do you think it would make sense to say that Dyson is now found in top offerings by almost all leading brands of vacuum cleaners? Yes or no? Do you think it makes sense to say that Dyson is now found in the top offering brands? No, right? Logically, it only makes sense for it to modify to refer to root cyclone technology. Okay. Now, a vortex separation method, that's just an additional information, right, about the root cyclone technology. Root cyclone technology is a vortex separation method. Now, again, it won't make sense for the vortex separation method to be referred to by it. Okay, so again, you have to go by what the logical sense or what the logical implication of the pronoun is. Okay, so that's very, very important. And I would actually urge you guys to look at the pronouns article. So, Krishna, can you please pull out the pronoun article link? That way they can look at the, how to figure out when the pronoun is ambiguous and when it is not. All right. So, there is a contrast that is presented in this sentence. What's the contrast? The contrast is that RCT is synonymous with Dyson, but it is found in many leading brands of vacuum cleaners. That is what are the two contrasting facts. Other than that, everything else over here, this blue stuff over here is presenting you with additional information about the descriptive information about the vacuum cleaners, the leading brands of vacuum cleaners, and over here, this part over here is telling you about the root cyclone technology. Okay, so understanding what part is descriptive information and what part is the information related to the contrast, that's very important. Okay, so that's where you need to understand the original. That is the level of understanding that you need to have. Okay. Okay, now someone is asking, technology is synonymous with the company. Is it correct to compare a technology with the company? Now, you're not comparing a technology with the company. What you are saying is that as soon as you hear the word root cyclone technology, it basically is associated with the company Dyson. Similarly, on similar lines, when you hear the word search engine, automatically you think about Google, right? So it's not like Google is search engine, no, but the word search engine is synonymous with the company Google, right? Or the word excellence is synonymous with, say, Harvard, right? So again, over here, synonymous doesn't really mean that root cyclone technology is equal to Dyson. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that the root cyclone technology is associated with the company Dyson, is very closely associated, or is identified by the company Dyson. Okay, so again, you have to go by what the sense of each and every word is. And in fact, in none of the answer choices, you see a different construction that is synonymous with the company Dyson, right? So you should not even worry about that aspect. Okay. Okay, now let's move on to our error analysis now. And in fact, we have gone through the entire sentence. We know what the subject verb pairs are. We now just quickly look down the subject verb, so all the other errors, and we figure out what's wrong and what's not wrong. All the verb tenses are absolutely fine. The entire sentence is set up in present tense, so there is no issue with that. Pronoun wise, we have figured out that it is absolutely right. There is no issue with that. Modifiers, yes, there are there are these modifiers which present descriptive information, and we've already accounted for those. Those are absolutely fine. Okay. So other than that, there is so as such, going down the entire list, there are no errors in the original choice. Okay. Now, so choice A appears to be the correct choice. Now, what's wrong with choice B? Now, a lot of you marked choice B as the correct answer initially. In fact, 32.5% of the class marked choice B. But look at choice B. Even the root cyclone technology, which is synonymous with the company Dyson, is a vortex separation method. So, what is the contrast that is presented in the original in choice B? Oh, choice B doesn't have even though. Sorry. So, choice B doesn't have even though. Root cyclone technology is a vortex. So this part is just additional information, right, which is synonymous with the company Dyson. Now, remember, this part was one of the contrasting facts, right? However, over here, this part is just an additional information about root cyclone technology. What this is saying is root cyclone technology is a vortex separation method using rotational effects and gravity to separate mixtures of fluids, and is now found with top offerings by almost all leading brands. So the contrast is absolutely lost. There are just two facts that are presented, that RCT is a vortex separation method and RCT is now found with top offerings. So doesn't this sentence change the meaning of the original sentence? There is no contrast anymore in the sentence, right? All we have presented is two facts. Why did you mark, I mean, the 30% of the class marked this choice as the, okay? What made you mark this choice as the correct answer? Probably it was because of the lack of the pronoun it. For people who thought, absolutely right, you got carried away with it, and you didn't understand the meaning of the sentence. So again, the importance of the process comes out. Do you guys see the relevance of the process now? Do you think it was worth it to quickly mark the answer choice and jeopardize getting the question correct? I know I asked you two different questions for which one of the answers is, for one answer is yes and one answer is no. Sorry about that. Okay. So again, very, very important to understand the meaning. I'm so glad that you guys are on board with that. You guys are telling me exactly what is it that I want to hear, because that's what is the okay. So now someone is asking what is with the red. Now these are, very small grammatical issues with the sentence. But the fact is, even if you didn't notice these, it's absolutely fine. You have been able to figure out why the sentence is wrong because of the glaring meaning issue in the sentence. Okay. So now this red thing over here is that you're connecting two verbs with a comma and that's not correct. Okay. Now found with top offerings does not mean that is now found in top offerings. With top offerings mean that it's standing side by side, the next top of, okay. Whereas what the sentence implies is that RCT is found in top offerings, that RCT is one of the top offerings. It's not with one of the top offerings. Okay, that's what is wrong. But again, even if you are not able to figure out that small an error, it's absolutely fine. Okay, but there are these two errors, grammatical errors in the sentence, but the major error is the meaning based error, able to spot in order to reject answer choice. Okay, let's come to choice C. What's wrong with choice C? Let's look at that. Now, I want you to read choice C in the light of all that we did so far and tell me what's wrong with choice C. Choice C is wrong, right? Because choice A is right, right? So tell me what's wrong with choice C. When you say meaning, what do you mean by meaning? Oh, sorry about that, guys. Okay. Can you guys hear me okay now? Sorry, I was muted. When did you guys lose me? Okay, all right. Okay. 2 minutes back? Okay, sorry about that. So again, so I went back to choice B because one of the students, because some of you were asking me about what's wrong with choice B. I mean, which two verbs cannot be connected. But over here, so I'm just repeating that is and is now. These two are connected with a comma and. So whenever you have two elements, you should not be connecting them with a comma and. They should be connected only with and. Okay. All right. So here, so I think this is where you would have, I would have gone on mute. So here you have two facts in the first contrasting fact, and that's what is wrong with the sentence. Okay, so it changes the meaning here, and then you have again this issue with here, which again, even if you could not spot, it's fine. Okay. All right. Now let's look at choice D. Choice D is also again meaning issue only. So while root cyclone technology is a vortex separation method, so again, what it's saying is that while it is a vortex separation method, it is now found in top offerings and is synonymous with the company Dyson. So it basically completely distorts the meaning. It combines the descriptive and the contrasting facts. So again, very important to understand what is descriptive and what all are descriptive information, FYI type of information, and what are contrasting information in such sentences. Similarly, when you have cause and effect type of sentences, right? What are the issues with what forms the cause and what forms the effect, and what are the descriptive information. So all those things I think you have to figure out really very, very well. Okay. Okay, found in is actually correct, not found with. Because now you're saying that the root cyclone technology is found in almost all the top offerings. That's what you're saying. Okay. All right. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes or no? All right. Okay, let's move on. Choice E, root cyclone technology, a vortex separation method. So again, there is no contrast, no work for root cyclone technology. Okay, and plus there is no contrast here as well. Root cyclone technology, a vortex separation method now found in top offerings that use Venturi effect. So again, there is no work for the for root cyclone technology. Okay. Okay, now someone is asking, understanding descriptive information is difficult if A is wrong and if we spend time reading A, isn't it? No, not at all. In question number 1, we understood what the descriptive information was, despite the fact that choice A was wrong. The thing is that choice A can be very, very wrong, but it will not be that wrong that you won't be able to figure out what is the descriptive information. Okay, or what is the contrasting information in the sentence where there is contrast. Okay. Now, choice E, some people are asking about choice E. Root cyclone technology. Okay, so if you read the sentence, there is absolutely no this sentence does not have any there is no sentence here basically. I was trying to find the right word here. So let's just take, so this is just a long bunch of words, a long group of words that are connected, but it doesn't communicate anything. Root cyclone technology, so a vortex separation method using, this is a verb ing modifier, using rotational effects and gravity to separate mixtures, synonymous with the company Dyson, now found in top offerings by almost all leading brands that use the Venturi effect to produce a partial vacuum. So now root cyclone technology is just a standalone thing. Everything else is a modifier, right? And this is just hanging by itself without any verb. Okay, and so there is no independent clause in this entire sentence. You do have a subject verb pair over here, right? But that is just a modifier over here, right? This cannot function as the independent clause. Okay, so this sentence it lacks the structure. It basically doesn't have an independent clause. Okay. All right, guys. We've spent enough time on this question. Let's move on to the Kabir question. This question, 55% of you answered this question correctly, which is actually pretty high as compared to the previous 2 batches to which I gave this question. So let's quickly go through this. Now, I want you to tell me what is the subject. So look at the choice A once more, okay? And tell me what is the subject verb pair in the main sentence. Write down the subject verb pair of the sentence. When I say subject verb pair, I want to see a subject and the verb together. Okay. Let me end the poll. Okay. In all of the 92 responses, I think I was able to find only 2 or 3 correct answers. And so even though the accuracy for this question was 55%, I would not give you guys credit for answering this question correctly. Because what I was asking you was, in the original choice, what is the subject verb pair? Actually, why don't you tell me again? In the original choice, what is the subject verb pair? I think you guys must have been looking at the correct answer and then telling me what the subject verb pair is. In the original choice, what is the subject verb pair? Okay, let's just stop with this. All right, so let's look at this. Interpolated in the prominent mystic poet Kabir's couplets is all practical teachings that are laced with strong religious and social messages to lead a content life. Now, um, let me break the sentence down. Interpolated in the prominent mystic poet Kabir's couplets is all practical teachings. What kind of practical teachings? Practical teachings that are laced with strong religious and social messages to lead a content life. All right. Now, this sentence has what we call an inverted subject verb structure. Okay. Now tell me, looking at the sentence, what is the meaning that you understood? What is interpolated in the couplets? What is interpolated in the couplets? All practical teachings. Absolutely right. What is interpolated in the couplets? All practical teachings. Absolutely right. So, what would be the subject verb pair of this sentence then? Given what you just told me, what is the subject verb pair then in the sentence? Absolutely right. Practical teachings is interpolated. Absolutely right. That's what I was looking to see in your responses. Okay. Practical teachings is interpolated in Kabir's couplets. Right? So it's written in passive voice, right? So interpolated, so all practical teachings is interpolated poet Kabir's couplets, right? Now what's wrong with this sentence? It should be are. Absolutely right. There is a subject verb disagreement. Now, how many people were able to figure out this subject verb disagreement in the original choice when you first attempted the question? So I would say about 50% of the class was able to figure out that this was the error. So why did you reject, and I should have asked this question early on, why did you reject choice A in the first place? If you were not able to figure out this as the error, why did you reject choice A? Again, I'm asking this question. Okay, nonsensical, confusing, really wordy. So again, guys, you didn't reject choice A for the right reasons, because this choice is absolutely right as long as I convert this is to R, then it's absolutely right. Oh, no, wait. Mystic poet Kabir's couplets. That's what is wrong with this. Yes, absolutely right. So Kabir's couplets. Thank you for specifying that. So let me go on to our next slide here. So from the meaning aspect, the sentence is clear, right? That it's about couplets. All practical teachings are interpolated, and these teachings are laced with the social and religious methods. Now, let's look at our errors. And I actually short-circuited the process myself, and that's not good ever. So interpolated in the mystic poet Kabir's couplets is all teaching. So we have the subject verb issue here, right? Which you will be able to figure out once you understand the subject verb pair. So you guys were not able to understand the subject verb pair. Some of you were not. A lot of you were not able to do that. So that's something which you need to learn for such subject verb, for such sentences where the subject verb pair is inverted. And again, always ask that question. When you see interpolated in the mystic poet Kabir's couplets is all practical teaching, just ask what is interpolated in Kabir's couplets. Okay, and that's how you'll be able to understand. So ask yourself that question. Okay, so the other issue here is, which some of you pointed out, prominent mystic poet Kabir's couplets. So here, prominent mystic poet cannot refer to Kabir because Kabir is in possessive case, right? Kabir is acting as an adjective to couplets. right? So mystic poet is referring to couplets, which is actually wrong, which doesn't make any sense. So that's what is wrong with this sentence. But other than that, there is these two errors are the only errors in this sentence. In terms of the sentence structure, even though you're saying that it's a weird sentence structure, or that there is passive voice used here, there is nothing wrong with that. If I correct these two issues, then this sentence structure will constitute a correct answer choice. Okay. So let's move on to our answer choice analysis now. Choice B. Choice B is again wrong because of the same reason. You have the mystic poet's couplets of Kabir. Now, why is choice B wrong actually? Let me ask you that question. Not many of you marked choice B as the correct answer. Why is choice B wrong? Absolutely right. It changes the meaning. Poet and Kabir are implied as two different people. Absolutely right. Okay. As far as the possessive case goes, there is nothing wrong here. The prominent mystic poet, so what it's saying is that there is some prominent mystic poet whose couplets of Kabir. So it somehow implies that the poet has written couplets of Kabir. Okay. And that's what is wrong here. But as such, in terms of the for example, over here, if you said that the author's biography of Kabir assimilates assimilates the ups and downs in Kabir's life, that would have been absolutely right, right? So if I were to say something like this, the author's biography of Kabir So if I were to just say this sentence would be absolutely right, right? Because over here, the authors is basically this aspect here. The authors refers to, it is at the same level as, trying to move this box here, is at the same level as the poets, right? Biography is at the same level as the couplets. Of Kabir, it's at the same level, and then you have the word, right? So this sentence is absolutely correct. There is no double possessive or any issue over here. But the issue is really that there is poet and Kabir. So in the sentence that I have written, author and Kabir are two different entities. But in the original sentence that the author gave us, the choice A, Kabir is the author. Kabir is the poet. Do you guys get it? All right. I can sense that you guys are getting a bit tired because your response rate has reduced. All right. Are you guys tired of going through SC? 2 a.m. All right. Okay. One more question to go. And believe me, just sit through this. Okay. It will be for your benefit. All right, so let's look at choice C. A prominent mystic poet, Kabir's couplets. Here you have the same issue that you had in choice A, and that's why it's wrong. Choice D is absolutely correct. The couplets of Kabir, a prominent mystic poet, interpolate all practical teachings laced. Absolutely correct here. Choice E, Kabir is laced with strong religious and social messages. That's absolutely wrong. It distorts the meaning of the original choice. Okay. All right. Now D should also be wrong, as D says couplets is mystic poet. No, D doesn't say that couplets is mystic poet. Over here in choice D, what you're saying is that Kabir is a mystic poet, right? This, a prominent mystic poet modifies Kabir, okay? The couplets of Kabir, comma, a mystic poet, interpolate all practical teachings, okay? Now, isn't couplets of Kabir not a phrase? It is a phrase, but again, it doesn't mean that a prominent mystic poet will refer to couplets, because first of all, that doesn't make sense. Secondly, it makes perfect sense for a prominent mystic poet to refer to the closest noun Kabir. Okay. Now, couplets of Kabir are what interpolate all practical teachings. And that's absolutely right. See, if you say, so again, over here, passive voice is at play, right? In this choice, you have active voice, right? However, in the original choice, you had passive voice. So if you say all practical teachings are interpolated in couplets, right? This is what the original choice said. And that's where I was asking you about, what the subject verb pair in the original choice are. Whereas choice D is saying couplets interpolate all practical teachings. So it's just the difference between the voices in the two sentences. Different between these two sentences is simply the active and the passive voice. This one has passive voice and this one has active voice. Sorry, active voice. Understood? Is that point clear? Okay. All right. So let's move on now. Let's look at question number 4. And question number 4, 50% of you answered this question correctly. All right. So I'm going to move into the analysis part of this question. Okay. Okay. Let me take a few questions here that have come up right now. Is there an article to identify inverted subject verb formation? Not as yet, Nishant. Does GMAT prefer active voice? Not at all. The only reason why the original passive voice was wrong here was because of the errors that we identified. Passive voice being a sentence in passive voice doesn't necessarily make it incorrect. Okay. In fact, there are a lot of correct answer choices which are written in passive voice. Okay. So in fact, look at the article on. Look at the article on 5 strategies to change the meaning. Okay, actually, passive voice to active voice conversion and vice versa is one of the ways in which you can actually, which the test makers change the meaning of the sentence. Okay. All right. So let's look at the sentence here. Okay, let me bring out the poll once more. So here are your responses. And this is a difficult question, guys. This question is a difficult question. Here are your responses. Now, you want to attempt this question once more, take some time to attempt this question once. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to see if you want to change your response here. I'm going to open the poll again. So take about a minute and then we'll start the discussion on this one. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. Okay, last 5 seconds. Actually, I was already broadcasting the results, and that's not a good idea. So I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so let me hide the poll. Okay, so let's go into the analysis of this one. First of all, how is this question? Let me clear out the stuff. How is this question? Okay, all right, so let's look at this. A seasoned bookie betting heavily on a high percentage hitter, especially one who has a good average and has performed consistently in the past. So tell me, who has a good average? This is definitely a, guys, hold on. All the questions, so except for question number one, all the three questions are 700 plus level questions. Question number one was the only one which was a 600 level question. Okay, so let's concentrate on this question now. So when you read the sentence, a seasoned bookie betting heavily on a high percentage hitter, especially one who has a good average and has performed consistently in the past. Who do you think that, especially one who has a good average and has performed consistently in the past, modifies? The hitter, absolutely right. It modifies the hitter, especially one who has a good average and has performed consistently in the past. Makes it likely to miss the decline in his performance. Now, whose performance are we talking about? Decline in whose performance? The hitter's performance. Absolutely right. It is a hit because we are talking about the hitter is actually betting heavily. So the bookie is betting heavily on a high percentage hitter. By the way, this high percentage hitter is the one who has a good average and has performed consistently in the past. So he has had a very consistent performance throughout his innings, throughout his career, right? And he has a good average. Now, by betting at such a hitter, makes it likely to miss the decline in his performance. Now, definitely, we are talking about the performance of the hitter, that if there is any decline in the performance of that hitter, it would be difficult for, so who would it be difficult for to identify that decline? Who would it be difficult for? It would be difficult for the bookie to identify that decline in performance, especially if it is interspersed with brilliant innings. Now, what is interspersed with brilliant innings? What is interspersed with brilliant innings? The decline in his performance. If it is interspersed with brilliant innings, that's what is going to make it difficult for the bookie to notice. Okay. Now, is the sentence clear? And let me, where did my yes no question go? Now tell me, is the sentence clear in communicating the meaning about who is likely to miss the decline? Is the sentence written in an absolutely clear manner? What is the subject verb pair here? The subject verb pair is a seasoned bookie makes it likely to miss. So is the bookie making it likely to miss? No, he's not, right? So that's where you have an issue with this sentence. So again, as I read the sentence, I was asking you questions. Okay, these are the questions that you should be asking yourself. Okay, when you're reading the sentence, and that's what it means to assimilate the meaning. When I asked you, especially one who has a good average, all I was doing was I was asking you to tell me what this modifier is modifying, and majority of you answered that question correctly. Okay, when I asked you who is likely to miss the decline, I was asking you to assimilate the meaning of this sentence with regards to the entire sentence that you had read thus far. Okay. When I asked you, especially if it is interspersed with brilliant innings, what is interspersed with brilliant innings? I'm asking you the reference of this modifier. Okay. So again, you need to ask yourself such questions actively so that you can understand the meaning of the sentence. And again, I wasn't asking you the meaning of the entire sentence in one go, right? I was asking you the meaning of little chunks. And that's the way to go. Okay? Read the sentence, assimilate it on your own, and figure out what it is that it's talking about. Does that make sense? Do you see how is it that you can apply the process as you're reading the sentence? Because again, you guys answered all the questions. It's not like you guys were not able to assimilate the meaning, but all you needed was a bit of a push or a bit of asking you leading questions so that you can think in that direction. That's how you need to think. Okay. Again, don't worry about the timing right now. We'll talk about that in a bit. All right, good. Okay, so we've already figured out that this sentence is about betting by a seasoned bookie. He typically bets on a high performance hitter who has a good performance record, and this bookie is likely to miss the decline in the performance of the hitter, especially if the bad performance is interspersed with the good performance. All right, now let's look at the errors. The first and the foremost error is the subject verb makes sense error. The seasoned bookie makes it lightly. The way the sentence is constructed, it somehow implies that the bookie makes it likely for someone to miss the decline. And that doesn't make sense, right? You've already assimilated from the meaning that over here, the seasoned bookie is basically the one who's likely to miss the decline, right? So that's where you have an issue here. Other than that, you may say that there is an issue with the pronoun here as well. His performance, right? You may say that there is an issue with his performance. Okay, so his performance over here can refer to, there may be some reference to bookie as well. Okay, so there may be certain ambiguity, although the context of the sentence favors the hitter more. Okay, but there may be some affinity to the bookie as well. Okay, so again, we would keep this in our back pockets. We won't use this error as the first and the foremost error to reject an answer choice. All right. So again, it is important for you to understand this aspect, that pronoun error such as this one, wherein the context favors one of the antecedents more than the other one, but there may be certain ambiguity there. But utilize that as the error later on in order to eliminate your answer choices. Okay. Other than that, everything else is fine. You have this modifier that modifies hitter, and you have the last one, especially if it is interspersed. That's talking a bit more about who is it likely. Okay, now someone is asking, even it is interspersed is confusing. It can refer to betting also. How can the betting be interspersed with brilliant innings? Okay, again, you have to go by the logical context. You are talking about the decline in the performance, right? So you will be talking, it's only logical to say that the decline in performance is interspersed with brilliant innings. Does it make sense to say that the betting is interspersed with brilliant innings? It doesn't, right? So again, just because there is an antecedent there doesn't mean that all the possible antecedents are basically possible. All the possible nouns are possible antecedents. No, they have to make logical sense. In this case, missing the decline in his performance, you could be talking about the bookie's performance as well in terms of his betting, right? When he's betting, you're talking about the betting going good or bad, right? So there is that aspect of performance there. However, you're talking about the betting on the hitter and betting on how the hitter performs, right? So that's why the affinity is more towards the hitter's performance here. Okay. All right, so now we come to our answer choices. A seasoned bookie who bets heavily on a high percentage hitter, that one is absolutely right, is likely to miss the decline. Now see, you've already understood all that there is to understand in the original choice. So when you're looking at the answer choices, you're looking at it from that perspective. So you know that the bookie is the one who bets heavily, right? You know that the bookie is the one who's likely to miss the decline, okay? More so when it is interspersed with brilliant innings, especially one who has a good average. Now, you've already figured out that especially one who has a good average has to modify the hitter, right, from the original sentence, because you've done that thorough analysis of understanding the logical linkages. So as soon as you see especially one who has a good average presented so much further away from the hitter, you know that it's wrong. So you simply cross it out. Okay, and then move on to the next choice. Choice C, betting heavily on a high percentage hitter, especially one who has a good average. This one is absolutely fine and has performed consistently in the past. A seasoned bookie is likely to miss. Now over here, as soon as you come to season bookie, you basically see betting heavily on a high percentage hitter is modifying a season bookie, right? So absolutely fine. Because it's a season bookie who bets heavily on a high percentage hitter. A season bookie is likely to miss, absolutely right. The decline in hitters' performance. So here you've also changed his to hitters to make it more clear, especially if it is interspersed with brilliant innings. Absolutely fine. This sentence corrects all the errors in the original sentence. Okay. Choice D. A season bookie who bets heavily, this one is fine, makes missing the decline. So so this choice has the same error that choice A does. Okay. A season bookie makes missing the decline, and that's why it's wrong. Okay. Choice E. A season bookie's heavy betting makes it likely to miss the decline in his performance, being interspersed with brilliant innings. Again, it's just very, very distorted. So I wouldn't even talk about this one. Now, someone is asking me about didn't get why B is wrong. B is wrong because of the modification by especially one who has a good average. This modifier should be modifying the high percentage hitter. Okay. But here it's modifying the brilliant innings, and that's why it is incorrect. Okay, now another question. Betting heavily, so choice C. How many people think that in choice C, betting heavily on a high percentage hitter is really far away from what it modifies, a seasoned bookie? Choice C. Good. I'm glad that not many of you think that way, although I'm not getting as many responses as I was getting early on in the session. Now here again, guys, it's a good question, but again, it again exemplifies the importance of understanding the sentence structure. Betting heavily on a high percentage hitter. Now this part over here, especially one who has a good average and consistently performed in the past, it's simply modifying the hitter, right? So again, it's just an additional information. Okay, but as such, if you simply remove this information, you will know that betting heavily on a high percentage hitter, comma, a season bookie, right? That's how you have to look at the sentence. That's where understanding the sentence structure is so very important. Okay, because again, you have to look at the fact that this is in a comma pair and it's simply giving you more information about hitter. I could have added, probably 10 more words talking about the hitter, right? And still the sentence would have been absolutely fine. And again, we talk about all of this in our sentence structure session, which is going to happen next week. So definitely, if you are facing problems with this, attend that session and you'll be able to understand that. Okay, so let's move on to our last part here. And again, what I want to know from you is, remember the poll that I took early on? I want to know what your approach to SC is now that you've attended the session. I still have about upwards of 200 people in the session. So please be active and tell me what is it that your approach to SC should be now. All right. My approach. Okay, good. Get the meaning first, understand the meaning carefully. So again, guys, if you look down the list, you'll see how, there is more of meaning now, and grammar, I'm hardly seeing any grammar, or grammar is coming later on. And understand the meaning and know why to eliminate answer choices. Very, very good. So very nice, guys. I'm really happy to see that. And I want to make sure that you guys would apply this approach. Okay, so it's very, very important here. Now, how is it that you guys have now understood the approach, what the correct approach should be? Now, how is it that you can learn that approach? That's what we're going to talk about next. Okay, and again, e-GMAT SC course, that is the only course which is designed keeping in mind this approach. In fact, as Rajat said, I came up with this approach early on, and the entire SC course was developed using this approach. I mean, this approach is the baseline of the entire e-GMAT SC course, all the e-GMAT verbal life prep sessions. Okay, so again, 90% of people actually master this, so actually finish the course within 20 days and they master the process. Again, the key thing is you have to make sure that you do your due diligence in learning the process. If you start to time yourself right in the first stage, you are going to fail. There is no way that you'll be able to master the process as till the time you are timing yourself. Okay. And again, this is where we come to the 3 stages of learning. The first stage is that you're learning the concepts. Okay. And when you're learning the concepts, you're not only learning the grammatical concepts, you're learning the process. How is it that you should be applying the process? Then you start to apply the process in the right manner and apply the concepts on the process. Okay. And then you start to get to that next level of deduction wherein, when you see a sentence, it automatically comes in your mind that, oh my God, something is going on over here. There is this modifier error here. Probably I saw this in this other question as well. So, you can make those kinds of deductions when you reach that level. Now, in the e-GMAT SC course, foundation concepts, the concept files, and the in-place exercises, that's where you learn all about the grammar that there is to learn for GMAT SC. Okay. And then when you look at the application files, after every set of concept files, after every set of probably 3 or 4 different concept files, there is an application file which you utilize to understand the process. Okay. You apply those set of, handful of concepts on these full-length SC questions and you apply the process there. Okay. You also do OG questions at this point in time. And again, as you are doing this back and forth throughout the course, as you finish up the course, and then you start to take the live sessions here, okay, you practice the questions and you basically see how a live instructor would solve, how an instructor would solve questions live in front of you. And that's when your understanding reaches that next level. Okay. For e-GMAT students, I want to know how many, so can you click on yes if you are an e-GMAT student, e-GMAT SC student today? Okay, so for e-GMAT students, I want you guys to follow this process very, very carefully. Go through all the concept files, go through the application files. Okay, we have 11 plus application files. Okay, and after every application file, go through the OG questions, solve the OG questions. Do not leave the OG questions till the end. Okay, because if you do that, you will not be able, you will not get enough practice that you need. Okay. So always do the OG questions that we recommend after every application file and apply the process as you are doing it. Okay. And then go through so as the live sessions happen. So how many of you are enrolled in the verbal life prep course out of all the e-GMAT students? Okay. Quite a few of you. Very nice. So as you go through the live sessions, okay, assimilate everything that is being taught in the live sessions, because that's where, see, your maximum learning happens in this stage on your own. Okay, that's where the maximum learning happens. But when you get to live sessions, you get to apply all that learning and you get to fine tune your preparation. Okay, so don't come to the live sessions thinking that we'll be teaching you stuff, right? We will be teaching you stuff, but that will be more from the application standpoint. And you will be able to assimilate a lot of that if you basically have done enough practice using the application files and the OG questions. Okay, so definitely be very, very prepared when you come to attend the live sessions. All right. Now, workshops. That's the next piece over here. For SC, after you've finished your entire course, you basically attend the SC workshop. That's where you get to further fine-tune your preparation. Okay. And then you also attend the verbal workshop after you've finished your CR and RC courses. Okay. So it's very, very important to follow this sequence so that you can gain 100% or more than 100% from your course. Okay. And it's very important to do the OG questions and to come to live sessions with the right mindset. Okay, very, very important. Right mindset and right preparation. So overall, you would have solved about 750 plus questions as you go through the entire SC course. And you would have nailed both the process and the timing. Okay. Now, foundation concepts, sentence structure 1, 2, importance of meaning, all these concepts are in the free trial. So those of you who are not e-GMAT students, you can still benefit from these concepts. Okay. And again, solid foundation is the most important thing. If you don't understand what a subject and a verb is, what a verb ed modifier is, then again, you are setting yourself up for failure. Okay, other than that, the concept files that I talked about, you have people who are not registered on e-GMAT, people who are not students of e-GMAT, definitely experience the free trial. Look at the verb ing modifiers concept. Look at the usage of like concept. Your understanding of verb ing modifier will increase by at least 5x if you compare your learning from books versus after you go through the verb ing modifiers. That's my challenge. Okay, so experience that and then figure out if this course is for you or not. Okay. Application files, again, you have complete OG verbal review 2 solutions. You have detailed solutions for the diagnostic. Each question and application file has been solved using this process. Okay. Actually, every question in the course has been solved using the 3-step process. So what I want you to do is, all the e-GMAT students, when you solve a question on your own, after that, spend at least 10 to 15 minutes going through the solutions so that you understand each and everything which you probably missed when you looked at the question on your own. Thorough review is really, so it's one thing to apply the process. It's another thing to make sure that you figure out where you are lacking in the process. Okay, and that you can do by thorough review of each and every question that you solve. Okay, and we have presented you with all the tools that are necessary for you to do that review. Okay, so please utilize all those tools to your advantage. Okay, and then towards the and then you have these specialized concepts like as versus like. We have about 4 different files that cover the usage of as versus like. 50 questions that test change in meaning. Okay, there are lots of questions in which again, as you saw in the presentation today, the correct answer choice may be grammatically. The incorrect answer choice may be grammatically correct, but it changes the meaning of the sentence. So you need to be able to figure all that out. Then we have these 4 different live sessions for SC, followed by the workshop. Now again, these dates are not correct here. SC workshop is on, let me just tell you the date, and you can look at the calendar as well. May 17th is SC workshop, and CR and RC workshops are on June 7th, and June 8th is verbal workshop for this batch. Okay, so again, any aspect that you take, the e-GMAT course trumps all the other competition that's out there. So again, you'll have this presentation for you. So my final comments, understanding the meaning is essential, and which I believe that most of you have gotten that from your responses to the SC approach. And sentence structure is vital. So for those of you who are having problems with understanding the sentence structure, what I suggest is attend the session next week, wherein we'll be talking about how to read the sentence, where to pause, where to break, so that you understand all of that. Okay, so definitely make sure that you have done your homework before you come to that session, and then you'll be able to understand the sentence structure a lot better. Internalizing the e-GMAT 3-step process is absolutely important. Now, I did say that I'll talk about the timing towards the end. Regarding the timing, again, when you're practicing, I did allude to that during the session as well. When you're practicing, do not time yourself, because when you're learning something new, for example, when you learned how to walk, right? When a child learns how to walk, he doesn't learn how to run right away, right? He takes little steps slowly, right? That's what you have to do when you're learning the process. You will take time when you're learning the process, but as soon as you gain that expertise, as soon as you've solved 50 to 60 questions, doing your due diligence by applying the process will become absolutely intuitive to you. Okay, but again, the key thing is you have to do that due diligence for the first 50, 60 questions. Okay, for that, what I recommend is look at our OG Verbal Review 2 solutions. Okay, when you purchase your SC course, you get access to that. Okay, and there you take up questions at random, solve questions, and test your process by using the detailed video solutions that we have. Figure out where is it that you're going wrong. Okay, and that's how you'll be able to master the process. All the application files in our course contain detailed solutions, as I said earlier. So again, do a thorough review. That's how you'll figure out how is it that you should be mastering the process? How is it that you should be looking at it? Okay. So that brings me to the end of this session, and now we can talk about any questions that you may have. And let me call Rajat over In the meanwhile, why don't you give me a quick rating on this session? And then, yeah. So let me call Rajat in the meanwhile while you guys are giving me your ratings. All right. So thank you very much. Over to Rajat now.
Hi guys, how are you doing? Okay, let me actually bring in the chat pod and make sure that we get your questions. Do we have the PDF of the session?
Yes, it is there in the file.
The files pod, hold on. Let me get you the PDF for those of you who All right. Another thing that I want to really just say is make sure you attend the next week's free session as well. So here is the link to the free session. Did we already distribute it, file? Okay. So let me actually move this.
Can I hide all of that?
Hide this. Here's the session PDF. Here's the link to the RC session. And I'm going to
give these web links as well.
And here's a list of other web links for the articles that you guys were talking about. Okay, and let me add a chat and clear chat, and here's the chat. So here's the link for the next free session. And if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to respond to those. What application files are relevant for the session next week? Subramania, please look at the study plan. It will tell you everything. If you're able to, Jaidev, I think I've seen this question many a times. I think one of the things that really happens is when you say you're able to mark all answers, that is not entirely true. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do this in the exam or be able to perform 80% of the level in the exam. If you're saying you're able to mark all answers otherwise but not in the exam, then either you have an exam phobia, which I think you should see a psychiatrist about, or B, I think you're not being truthful. One of the things that I would really say is look at our diagnostic and see what your score is, and that will kind of give you a very fair assessment. Nikhil, so Nikhil says you've read the e-GMAT SC book. I think that's what you're referring to. You're good at all the grammar rules, but there's feels there's a lot of scope for improvement. One of the things that you've got to realize is that GMAT isn't a test of grammar. I mean, think about it this way. What does your boss or your boss's boss know about grammar? And why is it that a business school would ask you for grammar? GMAT isn't a test of grammar. It's a test of clear and concise expression. And it's a test of your ability to communicate clearly. So knowing grammar rules are a tool to communicate clearly. Just knowing them is essential, but not sufficient. It's like saying, hey, I know how to add numbers. Would I be able to solve word problems? No, that isn't the case. Word problems is an application of addition or multiplication or solving equations. But they're necessary but not sufficient. So which course do I recommend? If you just need SC, take just the SC course. If you need the entire package, then look at Global Life Prep. Is the $279 price on VLP still valid? No, it isn't. The $279 price, we actually do it twice a year, and it's for very, very special promotion, and that's why we really said those promotions end. So right now the price is $299 that you can get it for this batch. Also, do you have an upcoming batch? Yes, this is the upcoming batch, and then the next batch will start in about 15 days from now. So, also 20, we'll make an announcement 10 days before the batch starts. But one of the nice things about Verbal Live Prep is that once you join, you get access for 6 months, which means you can, pretty much start with any batch that you want in the next 6 months, or even attend multiple batches. Nirmal, if you are an e-GMAT customer, then write to support at e-GMAT.com, and you'd be able to get a discount. We charge 40% for extensions, which is, it seems, what you need. How much does the SC course cost? Krishna would be able to tell you the course. And Rajiv, $299 is for the Verbal Live Prep course. For Verbal Online, it's $199. Yes, Gautam. Okay, great question. You don't understand the meaning of on-demand workshop. So a workshop, and I'm going to move the chat window. A workshop essentially has two components to it. The first component is basically where you take the workshop. The second component is when you do the analysis. So the time that you take the workshop is an on-demand time. We now allow you for up to a week to take the workshop, and the reason we do that is because based on the feedback, we realize that certain students need more time to revise their basics, make sure that they've done the entire syllabus before they take the workshop, or may have other official or personal commitments on the day of the workshop itself. So we'll give you up to a week of time to take the workshop. Then the analysis, which is your lifetime with the instructor, is on that one day, which is the weekend after that 1 week time that we give you to take the workshop. So so that's why taking the workshops on demand, the analysis, of course, live. Is it advisable to attend the workshop from another batch? The workshops are the same, Vivek. One of the things that we recommend is that you take a workshop when you're ready. So a workshop is like a mini mock. So you've got to be ready to take a mock. In the same way, you've got to be ready to take the workshop. Okay. Udaya says, you've done with the CR course, but you're not improving on timing. What to do? So I think a few questions that I have for you is, first of all, as you got done with the CR course, have you seen your ability improve, which is your accuracy? Secondly, to what extent do you need to improve your timing? I mean, what's your current timing? What is the delta improvement that you're looking for? Thirdly, have you followed the study plan? Have you done the OG questions as suggested after each and every application file? And lastly, have you kept a record of where you're taking more time? Are you taking more time on reading the argument? Are you taking more time in pre-thinking or analyzing the answer choices? I think as you provide us with more data around these four, I can recommend what to do next. Just merely solving questions, is not going to help you. Okay, Jaydev, the plan for the last 10 days, focus on what you are weak in, look at just one or two things that you're weak in, and fix them, but spend half the time in revising. You're hearing two voices. You should not be hearing two voices. I don't think that should be the case. It's just one person talking from what I understand. Valentine, great question. We do see a few students like such as yourself. So I think the key thing over here is you don't have, given that you have just 20 days, you probably don't have time to do a complete verbal online or verbal live prep course. The only thing that I would recommend, I think the first thing that I would recommend is make sure you validate your V38. You can do that by taking our diagnostic tests and looking at your percentile scores, number one. Number two, figure out one or two areas, so let's say SC or RC, that and just focus on those courses. You do not have enough time to look at multiple courses. I mean, we've had students who've done really well in 20 days. I think Krishna would be able to where most of the students have done extremely well in 30 days or fewer. Okay. Does webcam support on-demand support webcam facility? Well, everything supports. So we use the world's most advanced online platform, and so we do support webcam facility. The problem really is the breadth of students that we have. Sometimes they do not have enough bandwidth to see video, and that's why we discourage the webcam. Because again, you can purchase the Verbal Life course for Verbal Life Prep course for $299 by clicking on this link. Just give me 1 second. Harsha, we no longer work with Grocket. We stopped working with them over a year ago. So no, you don't. We've added workshops. We've added a ton of things since then to compensate for the same. So here's the link to purchase Verbal Life Prep for $299. The SC structure session is next Saturday, Payal? I believe so. Next Saturday, yes. Please expand the study plan. I think you can just download the study plan from our blog. So let me actually give you the link to the blog. Has the Valentine, definitely, again, write to support@e-GMAT.com. And Nikhil, again, I'm not sure if you are a customer or not, but the structure session is only for customers, for Verbal Life Prep customers. Sachin, if you are at V36 truly, then you probably need about, I'd say about 80 to 90 hours to actually go to V40, which is what you're looking at. And so as long as you need to study 80 hours is what you'd need. Again, focus on strategy session to figure out where you need the most help. GMAT Club test free for Verbal Online. Yes, if you are a GMAT Club member, then GMAT Club tests are available. Because again, write to support. If you want to extend it for 2 months, we offer 1 month extensions free of charge. If you want to extend it for 2 months, I think we charge you 20%. If you want to extend it for 6 months, we charge you 40%. So depending on your case, you can really extend. And yes, the session is available. It's being recorded. You should be able to get the recording in a couple of hours or so. So again, Vikas, write to support, and someone will respond over there. Yes, Nikhil, if you register before Saturday, you should be able to attend the session. So I recommend registering at least 24 hours in advance. That helps us make sure the logistics are in place. Weber, again, if you can spare about 140 hours or so, then join Verbal Life Prep. There's no better course. If you think you can't spare that amount of time, then you may look at Verbal Online. Sukhmanpreet, we have probably the world's most comprehensive course on integrated reasoning. I recommend that you take our free trial. We do not offer live sessions, but as I say, there's no better course on IR than the one that we offer at e-GMAT. And so yeah, just look at that and Vaibhav, again, look at our buy page on e-GMAT and you'll be able to go there. Here's the link for a $299 price on Verbal Light Prep, and here is the buy page. You can look at the prices of all the pages over here, of all the courses, I'm sorry, over here. And if you want to know more about our IR course, here are the details. So 800 score tests that we offer are for a year, so you don't need any extension for them. For GMAT Club tests, you've got to contact them. We do not offer extensions for GMAT Club tests. All right, here's the feedback on our IR course. And once again, guys, if there are no other questions, then I would like to thank you. And we don't offer anything for quant yet, but yeah, that's all I would say. All right, thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the session. I look forward to seeing you again next week.